Hello guys, you're welcome to another day and another edition of Broken Not Shattered. It's been a long time and it's good to be back in the studio and to have you all again. Nice seeing you again and nice being your host one more time. Um, Ike is on vacation. To be honest, Ike needed some rest and he's really having some rest and he'll be back shortly to join us in the studio, maybe in our next edition. So I'm standing in for him. All the same, how we all doing? Hope we're good. Good to see you here again, once again. So today will be looking at bad government. I wouldn't say bad government per se, but I'm trying to see how we can look at it as a global thing and then um, look at Nigeria, a country in Africa who is undergoing protests at the moment as a case study. And we will have several youths in that country share their opinion or their thoughts as regards the protest and what it's been like. So we're going to be, reaching to several youths, both local and in diaspora, to have their thoughts on what these protests is all about, and if it is actually a way to bring about a positive solution. That being said, we'll be going on a short break, and when we're back, we'll be calling in our guests one after the other and have them share their thoughts on the protest. A short break.
Places to stay. Have you seen the amount for house rents? You cannot pay house rents in Lagos. 10 people inside one room. People are suffering. People are hungry. And Ababio, the Senate president, the unfortunate Senate president, is telling us that he will be in the house eating while we are protesting. If we don't ask him, we will ask his children. Our children will ask his children what he has done to us. You are approving budgets of billions upon billions. You are buying jets for the president, and people cannot afford transport fare. That is wickedness. And you still say they should not protest. Wow! Who protests?
Thank you. We're back again. Don't forget, I'm your host for today. Obi is my name. Friends and followers who've been following us from way back who know that Obi is a very familiar face on the platform. Last, before we went on the break, we were talking about the protest hashtag end bad governance in Nigeria. From what is reaching to us is that to an extent the youth are beginning to get aware of what is happening in the system, and they are beginning to add their voice as to ensure that they are part of the government and that the government gets to attend to their needs. We didn't know how it got to that point, and so we will be calling in guests from that country, Nigeria, to get to know what it's all about and have them share their thoughts. Today on the show, our very first guest we will be talking to share their guest will be Shegu. I know Shegu to be a lawyer and also a brand personnel and a copywriter too. Shegu, it would be nice to have you on the show to share your thoughts. Long time, Shegu. How you doing? Please, Shegu, just briefly share your thoughts on what is happening in your country, Nigeria, at the moment. Nice having you, Shegu. Please go ahead. Your thoughts, please.
So, here are my thoughts on the ongoing end bad governance protest happening right now. I think the protest has been a long time coming, and finally we're seeing the fruition of it. I mean, before the protest happened, there had been numerous signs to indicate that growing discontent amongst Nigerians about the state of the nation, and with the rising cost of basic commodities in the market. It was only a matter of time before Nigerians will hit the streets. So this is not really a surprise to anyone. I was seeing it play out. Now, as to the demands of the protesters, I feel for the most part, they are very valid. And there are things that can actually be done. I mean, it's glaring that even though the government says that Nigerians should tighten their belts and prepare for a time of recession, while the economy embarks on that path to recovery, for the most part, it's been a one-sided arrangement with the people in government still enjoying the largesse and the surplus that comes from our commonwealth, while on the other end you have the people who have to bear more taxes, pay more for goods and services, while their disposable income keeps shrinking. So with that lopsided arrangement, it's only a matter of time before one party gets disgruntled and feels this is not fair. If you're saying this is what we have to go through to get Nigeria to a better place, then we all must share in the sacrifice. You cannot be buying new private jets, renovating houses in billions, and enjoying all the largesse that comes with being a member of the legislature, as well as other public offices with their fat allowances, while the average man has to struggle with having to pay very basic bills. It's not possible. It's not going to work. One person cannot be enjoying on behalf of the others. If we all have to go through the grind, then we all have to go through it from top to bottom. And I think that's actually at the core of what the protest is all about. And to be fair, government spending has to be cut down drastically. This thing has to go round. And I think that's the crux of the protest. Naturally, some agendas are coming to play. There are those who are advocating for regime change, but that may not be realistic in the short run. But what we can effect and what is already happening is a change in not just language, but in actions on the part of the government. And we want to see it play out to a very logical conclusion. It will not stop in making promises. We want to see those promises being executed on the ground. We need to start feeling the impact of those necessary measures that can cushion the impact of the economic policies, which so far have not really seemed to play out well for us. And yes, 1 year may not be enough to tell how well the government has performed, but it is a very good indication as to the trajectory. So far, it doesn't appear that we've really been able to convince the people in that regard. So, yeah, those are my thoughts concerning that. And then as to the influence of the protest and how it has influenced public discourse, it is not business as usual. Gone are the days when you get away with just making promises. Now we need to see you put your words into action. And that's basically what is going on right now. The main challenge is, of course, when people are hungry, and anger is what fuels the protest. It's only a matter of time before people with less self-control resort to violence. And then put that into the mix with the fact that some insincere parties on the side of the government have also hatched plans to disrupt peaceful protests by seeding in very violent elements. That we've seen play out in the NSAS protest, and it's playing out even right now as we speak. So it makes the whole issue a bit complicated, but not as easy. And it's almost giving the impression of a fire that might as well blossom into a conflagration that will consume the nation if necessary steps are not taken, one of which is that the president of the country must address the nation with clear statements as to what is being done to address the grievances of the protesters. Silence in this situation is not an option. And that's for one. Two, the law enforcement authorities must ensure that the armed men that are on ground are protecting protesters and not enabling violent elements. They are there as a deterrent to both violent protesters, whether anti or for protest. So both ways, that's what they are there for, to enforce law and order, regardless of where it is coming from, whether on the part of the government or the protesters. I think with that, we can see this whole matter to a productive conclusion, which is a sincere hope of every Nigerian observing what's going on right now. So those are my thoughts about the protest and what's going on. And my sincere prayer is that this actually moves us to positive change and to a better place for Nigeria. That the thoughts and the conversations going on will lead us to productive action that would actually take us to where we need to be and lift us out of the doldrums of our current predicament. I think that's very important. And that's all I have to say on this conversation.
Okay, wow. Shigu, I can understand. I from your explanation, I have a little idea of what you're talking about, and it's important to see that the youth are actually coming to be aware of what their environment is all about, and to understand that they are part of the government and they should be inclusive in the system, and they are trying to make their voice heard. But however it is, we understand that in Nigeria or in government globally, protest is a legal activity. I mean, is a civil right activity, and every citizen has the right of protest or right to protest. But however, it has to be a peaceful protest. And actually, we get your thoughts on that, and we believe that our audience, by what you've said, are beginning to get aware of what is happening. Thank you so much for calling in and for sharing your thoughts. At the same time, we're going to be calling Solomon. Solomon is not in Nigeria at the moment, but he's a Nigerian in diaspora, and I believe that the diaspora members also are part of the protest and somehow have given their voices to the protest. So Solomon, it's good having you on the show. Just briefly share your thoughts on what is happening in your country, Nigeria, at the moment. Please go ahead. Your thoughts, please.
Again, the question is, what do I think about the ongoing protests, peaceful protests in Nigeria? Well, it's good to say enough is enough, but then again, there is no roadmap to where you're going. That's the problem with the protest, and that's the problem with the nation of Nigeria. The protests are in order. It's been a long time coming. When you push a goat to the wall, it's just gonna, pounce back on you. And this whole solutions question about solution, like Nigeria, we are currently in debt.
Okay.
Over trillions of naira in debt, and this was something that in I think 2006 had been written off by Obasanjo. We are at zero debt at the turn of Yar'Adua's government. But between Yar'Adua's demise, absence from office, and his demise, and his announcement of demise, the debt has started growing. Jonathan had some excess of, I think, 42 billion in SS crude oil account, which was shared by the then governors forum that has somehow magically disappeared since they shared all the money in the SS crude oil account. So this protest is a long time coming. It's not about insecurity. It's not about food or hunger. It's just that the government of Nigeria is slowly decaying, and like anything that is decaying, it takes a long time before the whole structure is affected and collapses, and that's the result is this protest that we are having. And if the government continues to rigmarole or try to pacify the whole situation with some cosmetic touches without doing the necessary surgical operations, we are just going to have this whole thing revisit itself again and again until complete anarchy.
Okay.
Well, in terms of solution, first of all, I see no reason why we should have a monthly minimum wage of 70,000. I think an hourly minimum wage should be emphasized, and that would turn into something of a revolution, because in a way, if you take this, say, the minimum wage from 70,000 a month to say 300 or 400 per hour, it lead to a lot of people losing their jobs. But eventually, people would end up getting paid actual value for what they do. And now, if anybody is doing anything and sells based on their minimum wage, because then the whole job market will restructure. People would employ people they need, give people actual time. It goes all the way from office work, government work, to domestic workers, retail orders. You need to employ the people you need and when you need them. That will structure the economy in a way that only those people that would go to school eventually, and people that would actually have skills would now be on the skilled level will be on the high, and the school going will now drop. So you have less of both. You have more of what you need, skilled people, and less of people that are just actually answering graduate, and they probably didn't even attend classes once, or they paid their way through school,
Okay.
Then value for your time and job and profession gets enhanced, and then that's how we will start the whole thing going forward. But what I can see mostly in this protest is the fact that the defiance of Nigerians, even with all what the political elites are trying to, with the traditional rulers, with the thugs and everything coming out to say no protest, then people threatening people, and people still came out in their masses. It's insane to show that Nigerians are really unified in this hardship. But again, like I started with, there's really no roadmap from where they are right now to where we're going, because this government came in through corrupt means, and I don't think in the span of 1 year they've spent over 20 something billion on private home for the vice president, over hundreds of millions on yachts and private jets, and nothing. Meanwhile, countries like Argentina adopted a bad government and they're turning it around. Singapore is massively growing. All these are countries that were, as at 1991, were in the same par, or if not less than Nigeria at the time. And now, what I can say at the end is, Nigerians will protest because that's the only means they can have their voice heard. But will their voice be heard? And will the government do anything, or not just try another NSAS gimmick massacre again? So yeah, that's my thoughts.
Thank you so much. We'll be bringing up a female guest to hear her own perspective to the whole protest. We have Jessica, who is also a Nigerian. Jessica, the floor is yours. Please tell us what the situation is on your side. Go ahead, Jessica.
My name is Jessica, and I'm here to talk about the current protest and what's going on in Nigeria as a whole. I feel like freedom of speech is a sham. It's a
Okay.
painful thing to admit, being a Nigerian, that you cannot speak up in your own country. Um, the protest was supposed to be our way of staging a show of unity about what's going on in the country and our stand against some policies and reforms and hoping things will get better. It was just our way of letting the government know that we want to be heard. But over a period of time, we've heard bribery, We've heard people being silenced. We've heard show of force, and those show of force is often needed during protests to avoid rioting and vandalism. The show of force would more be like a deterrent to actually protesting and a threat on life. And as a Nigerian, I feel that this is a painful thing that we cannot speak up in our country regarding what we're feeling and what we're going through. A typical Nigerian would go through life wanting to put their heads down. I do the work, I get paid, I do the work, I start my business, everything goes well. They are a hopeful set of people. But when things are choking and near to breaking point, where basic needs like food and shelter is something that is taken for granted, it's now looking more like a privilege than actual basic needs. It's often the point, or this is the point where people have to protest and let people know that this is not acceptable. Our public opinions about this protest is that for the fact that we were even wanting to do this protest, we're hoping the government would take us seriously. Needs should be met and demands should be reviewed. But it seems that, according to political opinion, the House of Senates have not taken these demands seriously and only concerned about the threat to their own standard of living. The president has not addressed the nation about the state of unrest, and everything seems to be like they're hoping this will blow over and we can all go back to business as usual. And that's what I feel that they're hoping for. I don't know to them what business as usual is supposed to be. I feel like basically they're sitting on a keg of napalm and they don't know it. I just feel like as Nigerians, we just want to be heard. And it's a sad reality where we are not taken seriously. And I feel like we should be understood as people. That's what I just feel. I'm really sad about what's going on. I hope they do take us seriously because Nigerians, I don't think we have way forward on what's going on, and it's a bleak situation, but we are hopeful. Thank you so much for listening about on my opinions, and have a wonderful day.
Thank you, Jessica. Thank you for making out time to share your thoughts with BNS. I could feel your concern even from your expressions and from your choice of words. I understand how the situation is over there. But Jessica, thank you for stopping by to share your thoughts with us. We really appreciate you for this action. Thank you so much. God bless you. So, last but not the least, I don't know if it's going to be the last, but we'll see how it is. We discover that network is an issue over there, but we do not know why network is an issue. Some are saying there is a political undertone to the network issues, maybe to stifle protesters, but we do not know. So the next we have on the call today will be Akin. Akin is a concerned citizen and will discover his domicile in Nigeria. Akin, it would be nice to have you on the show and let you share also what your thoughts to this protest is. Thank you, Akim. You have the stage.
Oh yeah, thank you for your question. What I'll say is that I believe in the protest. I mean, I believe that people have the right to express their opinions on the things that they think are the right thing to do. It's just not out of the blue. So, I mean, someone just woke up one day and decided he wants to go on protest. There's reasons, there are factors behind it. I really respect people that can take their time, their limbs, and actually fight for what they believe in. So, it's a lovely thing. But I always have this feeling that Nigeria is a very peculiar place. The protest at it is, I'll tell you the truth, might not actually do anything. I mean, there might not be any result. There might not be um, any positive outcome to the whole protesting in different places. Now, lives have been lost. Properties has been destroyed. You know, and so many things has gone wrong. Yet, I do not believe the protest will do anything. As it is in this, the way it is, because the government has always been that kind of government that what's the word to use? They're not very sensitive. I mean, especially this government, they're not very sensitive to the plight of the common man. I keep saying that the government's an elitist government. Yes, we want to be like every other mega cities, every other developing nation or developed nation, and we thrive, or rather, we are trampling on our essence. I mean, we as Nigerians, I mean, the only thing that we got going for us, even before the oil came, was that we had food. We are now having that issue with food. Food is getting scarce and so expensive, and you're sitting there thinking that there's nothing. Come on. What started this French Revolution? It was food. What caused so many mayhem in other places? It was when the common man could not get the food that they needed. I keep saying this. I mean, if you remove subsidies from the fuel and put it in subsidizing food items, or creating that secured atmosphere for farmers to thrive, and food becomes almost minimum, nobody will look at it as anything. I won't protest. I won't support any protest if I could put food on the table for my family. So, I mean, food is one of the main. I mean, I have to say it's the responsibility of the government to make food at least available and as cheap as possible for its citizen. Get that done, and we won't have this protest happening. Because the fact is that these people are protesting for their lives. And you know the bad thing about it, the thing that makes me sad, is that there is no show that we are actually in a dilemma. I mean, there's no show that we're actually in problem. You are busy buying SUVs, spending billions on innovating VP quarters, buying cars for the first lady. You know, things that on a good day don't happen in an economy that's struggling. So when somebody sees this, I mean, that's how we are. We're simply animals that believe in what this. When they see things like this, nobody will believe that you cannot actually take some money and subsidize food items, because you removed it from subsidy. Okay, nobody is fighting that. Okay, you shouldn't. But what is happening to the subsidy, for goodness sake? I mean, seriously, that's what I take about it. It's just that I don't believe that this protest will get anywhere. That's what I just don't believe it will make the impact that it should, unless every single person, including labor, even TUC, is on board. I mean, I'm talking from a layman's point of view. I know that it might get worse if the economy is on standstill and everything. But if after that things are put in their places, the right moves are made, food is not so expensive. Every day you wake up, go to the market, find something else. You know, things like that. They're important to us. Policies are, you should have all these policies of removing whatever you want, tariffs from food items and things like this should have been done long ago. Actually, removing these subsidies, remove these things.
Wow. Thank you, Akim. It's good hearing you share your thoughts on what it is over there. We've also discovered that so far the protest has been peaceful in some states like Lagos and some other neighboring states. I will encourage you to stay tuned and keep watching us on Broken Not Shattered. Thank you and see you. But before we leave, our last and our famous word: love, peace, and more grace. Tune in next week for another wonderful edition. Bye for now.